Today we're making no yeast whole wheat flatbread with 3 simple ingredients. We're going to start with 2 cups of flour. We're going to add about 1 tablespoon of salt and about 1.5 to 2 cups of water. Now always keep some flour and water on hand because as you'll see, we don't want it sticky when we start rolling it out. So I used extra all along the way. Okay? You want to add your salt and your flour, mix it together, and then you can add your water. I just use a regular spoon to stir it around until the flour and the water and the salt are all combined. You'll see as we continue to mix, it becomes a ball. Now this ball is a little wet, so I had to add a little more flour, hence keeping some flour in a little container on the side. And you just want to mix and mix until it's kind of dry. It's no longer really sticky, and it'll come out of the bowl. Once you get it on the counter, you'll be able to continue to add a little flour and continue to, get some of that stickiness out. So we're going to just put it out on the counter, and begin to knead it for a little bit. This is not a big knead recipe because there's no yeast. There's no reason to knead this because you're not activating the yeast. You're not going to get it to rise. You just want to mix it all together and get a nice, smooth ball. I probably needed this for about 5 minutes or so, if that. I just wanted to make sure I got it all together and that I didn't feel stickiness. Once you get the ball nice and round, you have the flour all around it. You kind of seal up the bottom because we're eventually going to be rolling that bottom piece out. Just get your ball nice and soft and well coated, and then let it rest. We're going to rest for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, do something in the kitchen, right? And then we're going to start splitting this into pieces. In this one recipe, I believe I got 8, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 flatbreads. Depending on the size of the flatbread, you can get even more. I'm using a pastry cutter here just so that I can kind of get them even, but that's the purpose of putting it in a round ball because you can separate them a little easier. When they all are mostly the same size, and they're going to cook around the same amount of time, and they'll all be around the same size, which is helpful when you want to put them away in a bag or somewhere, a container. So once I cut them, I did feel a little stickiness in the center, which is normal, so I'm adding flour. I am by no means a baker, but I wanted some bread during this Daniel's fast, and so I tend to make some flatbread. So you're just going to pick up each of these pieces that you cut, and you're going to kind of make a little ball, okay? Just pull the edges out and tuck them in underneath the bottom, okay? You just sort of pull and tuck, pull and tuck, pull and tuck, and then twist that bottom so that it becomes a ball, okay? And also, remember, we're going to take this ball and roll it out so that whatever's on the bottom will then get flattened into the flatbread itself. Perfect little ball, okay? Once you get to number about 3, 4, 5, they'll get a little easier to do. But they all are kind of the same size because you cut them correctly. And we're going to let that rest. While that's resting, I want you to heat up your pan. I have medium heat on my gas range, and I'm going to put a little bit of flour here. We're going to start rolling these balls out, okay? I felt the easiest way to do this was sort of just press it all the way around the ball to sort of flatten it a little bit. And you're going to see because we flatten the bottom and tuck them in the bottom looks pretty good too. So I just don't want any stickiness because otherwise it'll stick on the counter, it'll stick to my rolling pin, and I don't want it to stick in the pan, okay? So I've been adding flour a little bit at a time. I'm going to lightly flour my rolling pin and begin to roll this flatbread out. Depending on the size of the cuts will tell you the size of your flatbread, okay? But they really do get quite thin, and because there's no yeast, they're not going to rise hardly at all when you put them in the pan. So this is about the size I got mine out of. I try to brush off some of the flour, and it goes right in the pan. There is no oil at all in this recipe, okay? But it will not stick, I promise you. Once you cook it on one side for a few minutes, you're going to then flip it over, and you're going to see some browning, okay? I'm just checking it to see if it feels done, and also I'm looking for some bubbles, and I'm going to show you some bubbles a little later. But you see this still have some, some give on it, even though it's just those 3 ingredients. If you had added some oil, it would have really, had a lot more flexibility in the dough. I just hadn't done that. But do you see that little ball right there? That's what we want, because that is the hot air going in between the layers that we created, which means later you'll be able to cut this open as a pita, not just a flatbread, okay? So I'm going to do a little bit of magic here shortly where you can see this rise, but this one is rising slowly. Some of these rose really, really nicely, and I got complete rise on the inside, and then others did not. But look at that. Look, 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 look. You see it? You see that? That's what you want. That will be a great pita pocket sandwich. And a lot of them turned out to be pita pockets. So this is the finished product. Put them in a bag. Make sure that you keep the air out of them. And they last for days in the refrigerator. Well, mine didn't last very long. But enjoy it. I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you next video.